Welcome to the podcast, Wait, What Do You Do Again? Where we talk to everyday people doing amazing things. I'm your host, Megan DeFord. Let's go. I am so excited to welcome Casey McNutt to the podcast. Casey is not only an incredible entrepreneur, but she is also a dear, dear friend. And I am so excited that we get to speak today. Casey, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do and what it entails.
Got a little down voice right now because I've been coaching quite a bit. I am currently a trainer or a coach, a fitness coach at a company called ISI Elite Training. It stands for Iron Sharpens Iron Elite Training. And it's a functional fitness, kind of athletic based training. We do mostly strength training, but we also have, core and cardio days and overall body conditioning. But that's where I work currently. I'm also a cycle instructor at Cycle Bar here in Evans, in Georgia as well. And this studio just opened in like October, so it's pretty fresh for me as well.
And then are you also doing nutrition work for
Oh,
clients?
gosh, yes, girl. So, so the nutrition thing has come around fairly recently in nutrition coaching. I've always had some part of that in my background, not quite I think as deep as you can get into it with some of the more nuanced parts of, meal preparing, but also understanding your body and how your metabolism works with how does Megan's body use nutrients, and it's figuring that out for each person individually. It's not just blanket, and I've been frustrated with myself. I mean, I think a lot of times we do things because there's like you've had this experience in it. um, I've always been very active, but I've always had this little missing confusion about what my body needs to fuel. And if you look online or social, anything, it's just a mess of confusion. And I was always like, I'm going to try this. Well, it didn't work, but why? You don't know. So I decided to take a deeper dive into the nutrition studies and health sciences background in college, but not on this level. So I recently re-upped my all my certifications, and I got my nutrition certification from National Academy of Sports Medicine and ASM. So I am now coaching. This is a fairly recent add-on to my gig. I've always been assisting and supporting, but never like opened it up just for pure nutrition coaching. And it's a very needed coaching space, honestly. I didn't realize how much until I started talking to people.
And I want to ask you about the industry and something you said about,
Sure.
much information out there. It's funny, on my long run yesterday, I had an hour of my run that I felt really good. Like I actually enjoyed running. I went through my brain of like, what did I do the day before? And to have someone help you understand that and guide you through that and what you can do to actually not only improve, but just feel good while you're doing it and take advantage of your individual metabolism and how you're processing things is so important. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes down to such a personal thing, right? Like if you were to say this is the blanket diet, I mean, there's so many out there. Let's just, for example, let's say keto. Here's one. It works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody, but also what is your end goal? And if you see this advertised as this is going to make you lose weight or whatever your vision of what you want to look like looks like, and you apply it, but you can't sleep well, you've got stomach issues, like your gut health is thrown off, you're foggy, so your cognitive spaces aren't clear, but you don't know why. You're supposed to be looking like it, but it's not for everybody. And I think that's where, like you said, that's where you like, what did you do to make that run work? And it all comes down to just the science of you is the science of Casey, of Megan, of a client. And everyone's so individual. You got to find that little spark that makes your metabolism and the rest of your body connect. And it's like food is medicine. It is the battery that fuels the whole thing. And
every time I open up social media, I'm either seeing things. Now, obviously, it's my algorithm, but I'm seeing things about exactly what you said about particular diets and what to eat. And the other thing that I see all the time are these ads for, and I don't want to call anybody out, but workouts
I know what you're going to say.
through or workouts that like I'm going to hurt myself. So can you talk a little bit about the industry right now and what you're seeing and then also
Yes.
clients through that? Because it feels, when I look at wall Pilates and it's like, just do 5 minutes of this and you're going to get this, ripped body and it's too good to be right. So
It is. Oh, yes, most of it is. I mean, okay, so let's kind of put it into one gigantic globe here, like one big snowball. Any movement is good. Any movement, whether you sit on a wall for 5 minutes or go for a walk or you stand in place in front of your TV and you march, like any sort of movement adds to any like your benefits. You're not only have the extra calories that you're burning to support your weight goal if you have one, or your cardio conditioning, or picking up jugs of water, or whatever it happens to be that this particular diet or fitness person told you to do. As long as you're moving, that's great. And I think that there's a lot of emphasis on this being the holy grail of the workout, or this being the diet that gets it all. Or I did not realize that I would need to defend fruit so viciously in this business. But don't they have sugar? Well, yeah. But they also have loads of minerals and benefits, and they fill you up without the extra calories. And it's like it's nature's sugar, and and trying to basically wean people our age. I'm entering the end of my 40s, and with this, I was an 80s kid, 90s girl, 2000s woman, and that 3 decade span was probably some of the more um, haphazardly entered information for fitness and wellness. We had a very specific ideal of what you needed to look like. Suddenly, skinny was the thing with models, and I remember seeing '80s models coming out of the '70s and the '80s. They were very voluptuous but very skinny. And then, I mean, you can't forget. Oh, girl, you can't forget the '90s models, like the tall and broad, muscular, not muscular, but fit. So then we entered this like fitness thing, and where you had I mean Jane Fonda was well before that, but like my mom's version of that, that exercise kind of boom was Jane Fonda. And then you have me, I was Denise Austin, and I don't mean for that woman worked out on every beach around the world. And it's like, I want to work out on a beach. So, but she was kind of my mentor. And now you look to who is popular now, what is being sold now that you can trust. And there's not, that I've seen, a face that you can look to for support and trust. And it feels like now you're almost, if you don't do this, or if you do this, you're going to hurt yourself. And you're being told the wrong thing. And it's like, and it all comes down to like this big washing machine of just bullshit. You just don't know. And you just don't know. And so I think like the industry itself, nutrition wise, is heavily marketed for supplements, for quick fixes, um, targeting women for things that maybe they don't necessarily need. Like if you're lifting heavy, 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 and you're going for major strength and muscle growth, supplementing with creatine is great. If you have a very well-rounded diet and you just want to stay in shape and continuing to just be an active person, you don't need it. Like, it's just, it's like, but that's what you're sold. And the same thing with fitness. We used to be cardio, all the cardio, all the cardio. And now we've got enough education for the last few decades to show that, in fact, long-term results and a healthier, longer life come from more strength training, and especially and weight loss, maintaining your lean muscle mass and keeping your body up to date. And so we do have an element of science that has come back into it, or into it finally, and a little bit less, I guess, fashion and and I don't know what else you would call it, but where it was
right, like
entertainment. Um, so as far as like where fitness is right now, fitness is definitely in the strength. I feel like that there's a lot of emphasis on strength. You still need all the, cardiovascular movement and things, but that's kind of where the focus is. I do miss the good old step aerobics days. That was my jam. So I miss that. I miss Billy Blanks. I miss Tybo.
That's awesome. So how did you end up getting into this? And if you can, I mean, like, we're
It's a
like
weird story.
had a similar day of work in our life, which I think is so cool. But like you've had such an interesting career. And how did you get to this point and decide that this is what you want to do? I know that you studied this in college, but how did you get?
Okay, so so I'm gonna give all the kudos to my parents on this one. My dad played football. He coached kid like kid football. I don't know what you call it. I don't call it little league, but like for football. I remember going to watch his practices, and he was always really engaging in like the kids' development and keeping them fit. He worked out with his buddies at the college, and then my mom was always fit and healthy. Like she had the VHS tapes of Jane, doing her thing. And I always thought like mom even had her hair. She had great hair. She still has great hair. But she was always moving and trying to cook well, and she was walking. I remember being at the end of a race where she ran like a 5K or 10K locally. I was a kid, little. But I would say the day, and I can remember the day we went to a gym and she had signed up for, I'm almost positive it was a step aerobics class or a jazzercise or something. And I remember sitting in the back corner, not really old enough to do it, but old enough they let me try, and becoming so connected with the way that I felt moving. And it never really left. And so while I didn't necessarily as a young lady, jump straight into sports or running or anything like that, I was, active, but I wasn't an athlete in school. I decided like I like that part of life. So I actually started teaching aerobics at a little gym in high school, and that was my first entrance into instructing as a 17-year-old, because everybody wants to take aerobics from a 17-year-old. And and then and when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I liked exercise. I knew I liked to move. I knew that my dad was a coach, and some of the people that I looked up to the most had some sort of a fitness, or they were active. I had a great basketball coach in the seventh grade that I remember being like, I don't even know what she said that stuck with me, but whatever, I always remember her as being like a mentor. And I thought, I'm going to be a coach. So I went to Stephen F. Austin State University, Axum Jacks, and pursued kinesiology and health sciences so that I could work in the schools. I wanted to be a coach, just a regular PE coach, make kids run, like all that. and and I went to through 2 years of that with a couple of other like little side thing, like little ventured in business and Spanish and things. And I went to my very first day of observation at a local school that I was required to go and sit in on. That day, I changed my focus. I walked out of that gym going, I am not meant to be in a room with this many children.
You're not doing the parachute. Like,
We that see that was like PE for me was like the parachute game, and making the little bean bags jump up and down, or the little scooter trays where you ran over your fingers every time or got your shoestring like tangled up. Like PE was fun, but to back up into that, PE wasn't always something I loved. I was definitely, I struggled with. I mean, not, I think all kids, almost all kids go through some sort of like a pudgy phase. And I grew up in a fast food family. We owned Sonics. And so I grew up on cheeseburgers and not the healthiest food, but also, you like any kid, I grew up and then out and then up and then out, and there were some comments said here and there about how I looked and my weight. And then I don't feel like I was necessarily destroyed by it, but it always stuck there. So when we went to PE and didn't play the games and we did the hard things, I didn't like it. It didn't feel enjoyable. And when you got in trouble, you had to and run a lap. Don't You're talking during practice, run a lap. You do like it became punishment. And I think the rest of my childhood was never like, I don't want to exercise, but always like, I don't want to run. I don't want to work out like that because it was punishment. So anyway, I digress. So back to college, I changed into just not having to go through all of the educational side of it, the secondary and all that, and just like went straight through kinesiology, not having any idea what I could do with it. So I came out of the other side and thought corporate wellness, trying to get into more businesses that were focusing on taking care of their employees better. There was at that point in the late 90s, early 2000s, we were starting to see companies invest in their employees differently. It was still cutting edge and new because they saw their insurance rates go down when they put focus on their employees' health and I thought I'm going to be on the back end of this. So I went to school in North Texas, University of North Texas, and finished my master's in exercise physiology and biomechanics. And the goal was to basically group train, teach wellness, figure out from there what to do. And then 9/11 happened and the world changed. Yeah, so I got a little bit deterred there, but came back to it. So I took about a 17-year break from wellness in that way. And I came back to it after a little bit of a hiatus in the Caribbean.
Can you give like a one sentence of what you were doing in the Caribbean for 17 years, 16 years?
I am a scuba instructor. My husband and I are dive instructors, and we thought for a year before we settled down with a family, we wanted to have an adventure. So we moved to the Virgin Islands for 1 year and stayed for 15. So that's another podcast.
I guess it's like so fascinating. But so you studied this, 9/11 happened, you went on this adventure. The adventure lasted a little bit longer. It sounds like a Jimmy Buffett song. And
Oh, yes. My husband is Jimmy Buffett. Yes.
you're back. What would you say as because I went to one of your classes and I thought it was great. And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend. One of the things that I really enjoyed about it is it meets people where they are, right? And there's
Yeah.
so many different options, and it was so much about community and positive, and you didn't feel self-conscious, and everything was really well explained and different options for both the cardio and the lifting portions of it. What do you see as the biggest barrier to entrance for people to start moving and to start working out? And how do you encourage people to overcome that?
Oh gosh. I'm I feel like sometimes it's just acceptance. I think that is a definite continued something I see regularly is the if I walk through that door and I can't do the workout, I'm going to be embarrassed and people are going to look at me and I'll be ashamed. It's shame. I would say it's shame. Um, what they should realize, don't often realize, is that everybody in that room started somewhere too. And if you are going to a place that you feel less than or shunned or ashamed, that is not the place for you. And I've been to some of those places. I'm sure I've worked in one. And over the years, it's something that keeps a lot of people from making that jump. But at the same time, you have to I think you have to love yourself enough to want that change. And I think that's also a challenge for a lot of people, unfortunately, is to appreciate yourself enough to invest in this time. And it's like, well, it's expensive. I don't have time, and I'm sure you've seen that meme floating around. You think it's expensive and time consuming now. If you end up in a condition that was avoidable by living more actively and, you know, moving, sure would be a lot easier now than it is later. So I would say that's what I see the most is like it's a shame. It's not knowing where to start, but also um, what I do realize, especially in kind of where I am, in some parts of where I am, and I guess some parts of every city, town, state, is that the barrier to movement to exercise is often just existence. Like, where can people go to move and play safely in a clean environment where they're told how to do something and what to do safely? And, you got inner cities, or, we have food deserts, but we also have fitness deserts. We can say, go out and move, but you don't know what to do. And now we take it out of schools. We don't teach PE, health. Those things are now electives in a lot of places. And it's really sad. I feel like we should be teaching how to do taxes and how to take care of your health. And we're not doing either.
I agree. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we've talked about as well is how we have to change our mindset, right? Especially if you do have that shame or you weren't taught in childhood or maybe you weren't the athletic kid and you don't see yourself as an athlete. And I love how when we started this conversation, any movement is good movement, right? Like, so whether you're marching in front of TV as you watch it, that's okay, right? If it's
Yeah.
walking around your neighborhood, that's okay. It doesn't have to be this super extreme thing, but it's also the mindset shift of you can do this and there are options for you. And I bet that's hard in your industry, given that there probably is a lot of shame baked into selling these programs, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, and on purpose,
Yeah,
on purpose. And there are programs feeding on the fear of additional shame. And it's frustrating to watch. And I won't lie, as a coach, I think it's important that we're very vulnerable in the fact that, like, there are things that frustrate me when you continuously give to somebody's emotional distress about this. It's like, you can do it, and you push them and drive them, and they don't take a chance on themselves. It becomes very frustrating, and you almost want to say, then why are you asking me for help?
right.
Like, you can only do so much to, like, lead someone to the water, but swim, drink, I don't care, do something with it. And I find that if it's just that extra little bit of courage, and that's where the community comes in that you mentioned. That's where the community, having someone lift and help carry, and it's having that team effort. Where I work currently is definitely one of the coolest communities. Wonderful members, take care of each other. The team is very, very, very well rounded from all ages, sizes, races, ethnicities. Like, we've got it all in this little group, and everyone is equal, no matter their fitness. We celebrate everybody's wins. We carry them when they need to cry, and it's important. But you also have to do your part and step in and want to be there.
You said it's that courage and loving yourself enough and having that courage is I think that's just such a beautiful sentiment and it says it so nicely. So, what advice would you give people who are interested in getting involved in this industry and who want to be a trainer or want to be a nutrition or who want to help others? What do you think? Where should they start and what advice would you give them?
Oh gosh. Um, I would say get to know your own body first. I think you can learn so much from the vessel you're in. My body is like not like yours, not like any member else there. So, everybody's got their own experience. But when you learn how your own body moves, it is easier, I guess, it's easier to find mechanically challenged situations for, like, form corrections, or understanding, like, what it looks like when someone is in pain, or so, like, if you want to be a trainer, it starts with understanding what the body does and how it works. You can take all of the certifications and learn periodization and how the ATP cycle works, and now muscle synth. You can learn all those things, but until you can communicate with someone with directions that they can understand, put cues and form into words that make a change, and you have to learn how to talk to people. Get out from behind the phone, join a group, get in front of people. I know the future is digital, and it has been. I understand that, and I'm part of that. But you have to know how to, like you said, go back and meet people where they are. meet someone emotionally with where they are. And you need to be able to communicate that. Words can be taken in any way the listener wants to receive them. So you got to be able to communicate exactly the emotion that you need to, whether it's an excitable one like at the gym, or whether it's someone telling me about an attachment to food that is breaking their soul. You have to be able to swing those directions, and you have to care. You have to genuinely care. And I tell you, it's it is. I fall in love with members so deeply. It becomes very, very difficult sometimes to step out and give advice that's not just let me just take all your problems from you, and and you have to, I think, have some soul in it. That would be kind of my I guess, advice. Be active in your own way. Seek the certifications, but seek the personal connections.
And then ISI and Cycle Bar weren't your first stops. Like, how would you recommend for people? And this is, I think, both
Oh, yeah.
professionals, but also for people who are trying to find their community and define their space. Like, what would be your advice there?
Oh, gosh. Um, Jump into volunteer. If your city has a Boys and Girls Club and you can lead walks, if you can join a run group, like, how I met you, if you can, um, join any sort of a sport, a casual something, meet people that are like minded in that community. That would be the best place to start. Get your teeth like into something that is focused on programming, on organizing people, and and um, know how to speak to people who are looking to you as a leader. So, learning some leadership skills from any position, any job, whether it's a restaurant manager or, um, gosh, car wash. It doesn't matter. Just something where you've got some control, you're organizing. That helps a lot. And even though you may not run a gym or a fitness facility or something like that, you're still organizing people in, if it's group fitness, you're organizing a layout, you're organizing where people need to go, you're mastering a flow. If you have a one-on-one client and you maybe jump straight into a big box gym as your very first time as a personal trainer, remember that everybody is there for the same purpose, and be nice and be humble and learn from other trainers. I didn't know everything that I know now when I first started. I had a day one. I've messed up some workouts. I have destroyed some steps classes that were just like, you know, I've had bad days in the gym where I called things incorrectly. You will have those. So learn early and accept that and continue to build on it. Take the opportunities to do things. I know it's all about your worth. Yes, you have worth, but you also have something to give back to the world. And volunteering your time to learn something is not charging your worth or being, I don't even know how to verbalize that. I think kind of what I'm trying to say is that there tends to be like people who are like, but I have an education and I need to be paid for it. Yes, absolutely you do. But if you've never done it, you better like try to jump in and help somebody and learn something and volunteer. And um yeah.
As much from helping others as
Oh
we
yeah.
as the individuals do from us. And volunteering, especially in an industry that you love or just an area that you love, anything in life, it's so fulfilling and rewarding, and we get so much out of it in a way that almost feels like not the point of why you did it in the first place. Uh,
Oh yeah.
you learn so much and you meet so many people, and like you said, like-minded people. We keep going back to that idea of community, and it's building that like-minded community around you.
It is. It is. And it doesn't matter where you went to school. I mean, I know that, connections help, and of course, and that's just the business world as it is. But if you are creating your own community and you give back and you contribute, your name will float. Every industry is small. And we like, talk about, I don't know how many times I've heard like the restaurant in industry is like, oh, it's a very small little community. It's like, same with fitness, same with legal, same like It's all got its own little pocket, and your name means something. And if you can grow it in a positive way, it'll come back. Plant that seed.
Not to like go on a total tangent, which I love to do, like a little side quest, but the world is small. I mean, you and I were in Madrid and we met someone town of Texas because we just were like, hey, do you want us to take your picture? And we started talking to each other. So if the world is that small, think about how small industries are, to your point. I mean, it's really putting yourself out there will get your name out there. And
And
you'll,
you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching, and you never know who's going to end up in a position where they're looking for someone and you want them to think of you.
yeah, 100%. And I think this too is someone who is coming, into fitness and looking for their thing, maybe they were an athlete or not, trying out different workouts and gyms and knowing like this may not be the right thing for me, but try it out. Don't feel like this has to be the be all end
Oh
all.
yeah. Yeah. And I think yeah, and I think to your point too, like so many so many places have like a one visit free or three or 1 week free or something. There's no reason you can't try things. But if it comes down to you got kids are crazy and if the money is tight, there are still ways to be active. YouTube is full of videos and yoga, and you can go download a walking program. Like there's lots of options out there, but you know, it's it's definitely it's definitely a challenge for people just to walk out the door, just to get started.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm in South Florida, and I feel like there are so many free programs where I live, and partially because we can be outside year round. But even I didn't know until I joined the running group that running stores have weekly meetups, and I didn't know that you didn't have to be a runner. You can just walk.
Exactly.
There's
Exactly. You still, who knew?
like the hardest part of getting to the gym or the hardest part of a workout or the hardest part of a run is always just like getting out of bed and getting out the door and getting there. Like I've never regretted a workout. It's always just like, I gotta get up and have this really cozy bed. So
Yeah, I know. I know. Especially when you wake up early every day of the week and your weekend is like the only time to sleep. That happened to me this morning. I was like, this is the only day I don't have to get up before 4 a.m. Like, damn it. But I really want to see Christine and I really need to go for a run. And all right, I'm going. And you know what? I didn't regret it. It was lovely. It was hot, but it was great.
um, that is great. Well, so I really enjoy this conversation so much. I think that some of the things that we talked about, um, as it relates to fitness, really relate to life in general. We're talking about community, we're talking about investing in ourselves, we're talking about communication, and really deciding who you want to be and how to take those steps to get there. And I'm sure there's so much more that we could talk about. What do you love most about the work that you do?
My members,
Mhm.
my clients, 100%. Um, their success is my success. When I see someone achieve something they didn't think they could do, or surprise themselves with moving maybe a weight that I knew they could, but they didn't. I just it must be what it's like to have a kid who like hits a home run. I don't know. I don't know what that's like, but I get so very overwhelmed with it. Um, I think that's definitely my favorite part of this job. I love that I have personally, I love that I have an active work. I I'm not someone who must sit all day. I preach move, but some people are required to be in one place for 6, 8 hours a day. And that's a very difficult way to live. And you can say, well, get up and move. Sometimes you can't, so you got to come up with other ways to do it. So I feel very blessed that I'm able to ride for a bike for a living in the dark with loud music. I get paid to yell a good job in a microphone to 40 people at a time. That it's I sometimes I am very guilty that I get paid for it because it's just so damn fun. But yeah.
That's so great. And then what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, you're
Probably.
just fine. You're just fine the way you are. Trust your gut. Everyone else seems smarter than you, but they're all faking it too. Um, and have fun. And yeah,
That's
have
great.
fun. Just
That's
have fun. You're not here very long. So
not here for a long time, here for a good time.
here for a good time. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say if I had the half of the sense then that I do now, I feel like, I could have maybe done more for more people, but I'm really proud of where I am now.
And you should be. And, there's no way that you could be where you are now, the journey that you took.
Oh, so true. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's you saying like I have some regrets, but I would not have learned how to correct them had not I not done the wrong thing in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a learning curve. And also it's something I struggle with is learning to let go as well, forgive myself. And even if it's ridiculous, just forgive it and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, don't, it's funny that we're ending on this because isn't that what so much of like you might have a great day in the gym, you might have a bad day at the gym, but every day is a day of progress, right? Like every day is a chance to get better and to learn and to keep going. I'm just
Oh yeah.
amazed at marathon runners. I'm amazed at most people in general, but marathon runners and what they can do and how it's always that thing of like one bad run doesn't define your training. It's not going to define your race. And to have that mental fortitude to keep going is so impressive. And I think that the more that we challenge ourselves, the more muscle memory we have, no pun intended, to know like, okay, we had a setback. That doesn't define us. We're going to keep going on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. But, some people hold some of these goals so high up in the stratosphere and it's like it doesn't seem reachable, but it every marathon is made up of just one step. One step added to one step added to one step and it's like it will get there. It will get there. You just have to trust the process and stick with it, and you give up after 2 months you may not find, you know, that pot of gold is at the end of maybe 6 months or something. Yeah, so I think you're exactly right. No, you're spot on.
No one needs to run a marathon, but if you are, keep going. And so, how do people find you if people want to take your class or work with you for nutrition advice or talk
Uh, well, if you want to take one of my classes or sessions, I teach spin classes at Cycle Bar in Evans, Georgia. We're just outside of Augusta, basically Augusta. And so come to the Masters and come to one of my rides. And then and I am a coach at ISI Elite Training in Evans and Grovetown, Georgia as well. And that you need to be a member of unless you want to come and try us out and then get a membership or drop in for it. We're all over the country in both businesses, both brands. Um, it's I feel very grateful to work for both of these franchises, both of these brands. I have met some of the most wonderful people. If you want to find me for nutrition advice, I can help. I don't virtually personal train. I really prefer hands-on. So I can always point you in the right direction and refer people. But for nutrition coaching, I do that virtually, and that is fit and well with Casey.com.
awesome.
Fit, or on Instagram. I don't have all the things. Like everybody's got like a little initials and like emojis after their name of all the different social places. Like, listen, Instagram, just send me a message. I don't have time for everything else.
Find me on Instagram. Well, we will link all of that so people can find you easily. I just want to give a shout out as well because Casey is a business owner and she's chosen these places. You are very discerning, so it speaks very highly of where you work and where you've chosen to spend
Oh,
your efforts. Thank you so much for being on today, and we will see you next time.
I can't wait. Thank you for having me and congratulations.
thanks for listening to Wait, What Do You Do Again? For more information about today's guest, or if you'd like to be on the show, please visit megdeford.com. See you next time.